Dude, it's time for the show. Come on.
Dude, I got Pinterest Quest.
I don't care. We gotta do this.
Dude, Skies of Arcadia, I don't care. You do it.
Hi, everybody. This is the PixelBlips podcast for August 19th. I'm Dave, that's Andy. And I guess I'll just start with what I've been playing since he's obviously still playing something. So this week, I started going through my Steam sale back catalog. And what are you doing?
What? I'm playing Pinterest Quest. Did you ever play Skies of Arcadia?
No.
Okay, we'll talk
I never
about
had
it
Skies of Arcadia for the Dreamcast.
Okay, so we'll put a pause on what Dave's playing. So Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast has one of the best VMU mini games that comes with it. It's called Pinterest Quest, and you're this little dude in a little pirate ship in the skies, and you have like various mini games you have to play. So like one of them you have to dodge rocks and kind of a Space Invaders type thing. One of them you have to like negotiate price. Like they'll be like, hey, we're ready to trade. Do you want to trade like this for that? You always find treasures that are graded A, B, or C.
Okay. And
so you trade them around and try and get like a lot of A treasures. There's one where you have to shoot down pirate ships with your cannons.
Huh.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. There's like
it's a VMU.
Yeah, there's a little targeting thing, reticle that goes around the screen. You just gotta pop it at the right time. So throughout all of this, once you get it back to the Dreamcast, you plug it into the controller, you hit go, and it gives you a bunch of items in the game and experience points and
So you're grinding while you're not playing the game.
Yeah. So this is it amazes me. I posted it on my Twitter a few weeks ago. It amazes me that like Sega and Overworks managed to like totally nail what I want from the second screen experience. You know, where I was talking about smart glass
in 2001.
And the Wii U and all this stuff. And it's like, this is what I want. I want like a little mini game thing that I can take with me that I can use to grind out stuff, so I don't have to grind when I'm playing the game. So I can just
home.
Yeah, so I can just like enjoy playing the game. You don't got to stop for the grind.
That's cool.
And there's one kind of like this for Fable 2. It's like Gem Master. You could get gems and stuff in Fable 2 with a smartphone app.
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
I think it's Fable 2. It's either Fable 2 or Fable 3. I'm pretty sure it's 2. But yeah, so they just totally nailed it with this.
10 years
super
ago,
addicting.
or 13
so
years
you said
ago.
You were going through your
So I was going through my Steam back catalog now that Andy's actually awake and part of the show.
What? I was awake. Man, Vice has... Man, words to live your life by from Vice. Impossible is something quitters say to make themselves feel better. It's like, yeah, Vice.
All right.
Best Sky Pirate ever. Well, maybe not best. I bet in a fight, Vice loses to Tron Bond, but that's because she's got the surf bots.
Yeah, she cheats. She's got an army.
Yeah.
So
Tron Bond's like Vice is like, hey, we have a Hulk. And Tron Bond's like, I have an army of surf bots.
Little Lego-looking men. So anyway, I've been rolling through my Steam catalog. I picked up a bunch of games during the Steam summer sale.
Yes.
I picked up Evoland for like $3 or something.
Everyone talks really great about that.
So far, I'm only like an hour and a half in.
Would it run on my computer at home?
Probably. It runs on this laptop just fine. I played it all on my laptop.
I might want to get it then, because every time I look at it, I'm like, that looks like it sings to a part of my soul.
And it does. Like right, it starts out as like the Game Boy version of Legend of Zelda. That's how it starts. And then as you unlock different chests, it adds features to the game, like monsters and color and music. And then it changes it up. It's like, oh, well, now you have
polygon
graphics or mode 7 or things like that. And eventually it'll add things like, like the Final Fantasy style fights where it's turn-based and you actually, like random encounters and things like that.
So it would be really cool when you start off as the Game Boy. How do you attack monsters?
You have like an attack button.
Oh, so it's like... So it would be
but
really
you don't
cool.
get that initially because you start with just being able to move left and right, and then you get the ability to move north and south, and then you get, and then you like unlock your sword, and then it's like you use this to attack monsters and take out bushes, and then you unlock monsters and so on and so forth. It's literally, it adds features.
It would be really cool if it started you like Ys, where you don't have a sword, you just have to run into monsters to attack them.
Oh.
And then eventually you got the sword.
I don't know. I mean, that might work. It also starts you with, like, you have one hit and you're dead. Oh. So I don't think that's how that works. But yeah, it might. I mean, but this game has been in development for a while. It was a...
It's an indie game.
It's an indie game, but it was also, like, it started as a Lume Dare 24 Game Jam game. And I guess it was the winner of that game jam. So it started off real simple, like super simple. Because on a game jam, some of them are only, like 2 days, 3 days?
Yeah.
So, and it's pretty neat. I've got to the point where I have, like, PS2 level textures on the characters, but I still have the static Final Fantasy 7 and 8 backgrounds.
Interesting.
So
is it worked into the story like 3D Dot Game Heroes was worked into the story, where the king's like, I don't want to be in 2D anymore, I want to be in 3D?
Yeah, it was kind of like that, like as because the name is the world that you live in is like Evolandia or something like that, and as you unlock stuff, it changes the world, and everybody's like. Like when you first get to the town, you're like the little bitty 16-bit sprite or 8-bit sprite, and everybody calls you a kid, and then you fall down the well and eat this special nut that turns you into a 16-bit sprite, and now you're an adult. And when you get 3D, everybody when you go to Kefka's, like this is super early stuff. This is like the first 20 minutes of the game. You go to Kefka's cave or something like that. Final Fantasy references all over the place in this. Yeah. You get the, some sort of power stone thing that then turns the world, gives you a new perspective on the world, and that's when it becomes 3D.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's a neat little game, and I think like $10 is all it really costs. If you buy it directly from the publisher or the developer guy, you can get the DRM free version, and then you can download like the soundtrack through Steam, which the soundtrack is whatever. It's a JRPG soundtrack. I've only heard some of the music, so, but it's pretty cool. And I also have been playing Dust and Elysian Tale. It was
I saw that on your Raptor.
Yeah, it was an Xbox Live Arcade release initially, but now it came out on the PC a few weeks ago, and it was part of the Steam sale. And it's like a castle Metroidvania type game.
Very well animated.
It is very well animated.
I'm like, ooh, wow.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty. There is a little bit of a weird disconnect though with the characters, like the playable characters, like you and your little helper fox fairy thing, and the enemies, because the enemies are all like cell shaded 3D models, and your character is like obviously a hand drawn character.
Sprite.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a weird disconnect, but everything else is really cool about it. Like, and I remember hearing like some weird crap about it when it first came out about how it's like a furry's paradise or something. Because all the characters are anthropomorphized animals.
Yeah.
And they all kind of look like, I want to say like mid-90s Disney characters, kind of.
So like Don Bluth, like All Dogs Go to Heaven type characters, or Secrets of Nim.
More like Secrets of Nim.
Okay. Dude, I love me some Secrets of
Nim.
Nim.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. And the fact that your little fairy dragon fox thing doesn't have pupils, it just has eyes that are like black and green, kind of freaks me out.
Oh.
But other than that, it's a really neat game. I'm having fun with it. I'm only like an hour into each of these games, so I haven't really dug very far into them, but I'm having fun with them.
Cool.
So what have you been up to other than playing VMU games from 2001?
I started The Last of Us this week. I didn't get to play a lot of it. I got to play about an hour and a half to 2 hours of it. And man, that game starts you with a nut punch.
Doesn't screw around. Like the intro to that game is freaking brutal.
Like we need that tutorial intro, we need to like enshrine somewhere as like, this is how you do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about the whole section where you're playing as a
character that is not the main character.
Yeah.
As many spoilers as possible. Even though I know
Last of Us has been 10 minutes or 30 minutes.
Last of Us has been out for a while. I know I'm just getting to it. Thank you, Dave, for letting me borrow it. So we're gonna try and be as spoiler light as possible on this quick little blurb.
But yeah, that first section where there's you just don't know what the hell's going on.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously, if you watched any of the videos, you know what's happened.
Yeah.
But this is all like at the.
They did a good job of keeping this out of the press materials.
Yeah, it was really neat. And it's good to see some of the characters before everything went to hell.
Yes. So. And then it flashes for you for 20 years, which is well after everything went to hell.
Oh yeah.
Which I really liked, and I liked the spores.
Oh yeah. When you have to crawl through the areas with spores, you have to put the mask on.
I like how they did the spores. I like how they give you moral choices that make sense in the world.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've run into this yet, but if you're fighting the humans, the human characters, you can at some point they'll like start begging for their life, and they will run away if you don't kill them.
Oh, they will.
Sometimes. Other times they'll just try to get you.
One of them started begging for their life, and I assumed he was going to run away and come back, so I shot him.
Yeah, I did that all but one time, and that one time that guy kind of ran away, and I never saw him again.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I probably would have, if I knew they would actually have stayed away.
Yeah. Like there's a time later where you're like fighting military guys, and they'll beg for their life, but then there's no way in hell they're gonna stop.
Yeah.
They're gonna come after you. So
I'm already. It's a good survival horror game because I'm already instinctively like hoarding bullets.
Are you? Yeah, I didn't play the third-person shooter game unless I had to.
There's one spot early on where I was undercover. I had the bullets to fire at these guys, but there was also a brick that was like just out of cover. Like I knew I'd have to run out of cover and get it
to grab it. Yeah.
So I like waited until they were both not looking and got up and grabbed the brick and then ran over and like
bricked one in the face and then took the other guy out.
Well, I bricked one in the face and then jumped on the other guy and tried to restrain him.
Yeah.
But that was the guy that ended up pleading for his life, and I was like,
no. Yeah.
So it's very good, and it does a good job of setting up who the main character is. And
yeah, it does.
That opening, gut punch.
Oh yeah, that opening is not
like
around.
I was surprised. I was literally on the verge of tears after not even playing the game 30 minutes.
Yeah. In the first 20-30 minutes of this game, you're like, what the hell just happened? And that sets the tone for the rest of the game. So.
And it wasn't so much that like, oh my god, the world is falling down around me. It was like the emotional moment of, oh my god, like what would you do?
That just happened.
Yeah, what would you do in his shoes? How would you react? And that's how you're thinking, like, how am I going to get through this?
How would I deal with this situation if that was me? And
and how they set up the character you are in the tutorial, like it does a really good job of putting you in that character's shoes and making you care for that character in an incredibly short amount of time.
Oh yeah. Like your emotional investment becomes real big, real quick.
Yeah, which is amazing considering like it took an entire game. How far the developer has come. Because I didn't really care about anyone in Jak and Daxter, and it took an entire game for me to like care about the relationship between Drake and Elena in Uncharted.
In the first Uncharted.
In Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. Like they were just really cool characters, but I didn't feel like an emotional spark or emotional investment until the end of that game. And flash forward, 8 years?
Something like that,
or 6 years or something, however long it's been. And they've nailed it. They this is how it took me a lot longer to feel invested in Heavy Rain than it has taken me to feel invested in The Last of Us.
Yeah, but I mean, you think
for a lot of the same reasons.
But I mean,
Heavy Rain just rolls out so much slower.
Yeah, it does.
It takes its time, but this one's like, hey, these are the boxes we need to check. So
and we checked most of them in the first 30 minutes.
Yes,
but I mean, when you think about that comparison between like just particularly Uncharted and Last of Us, they're kind of different games. I mean, they're the same kind of mechanically similar to the game.
Consider a character-driven action game.
Yeah.
And Last of Us is a survival horror game.
Action-y game.
Yeah.
But it's, the circumstances are also different. Yes. I mean, you're a treasure hunter in the modern world and whatever.
I've never, here's a good example. I never cared about any character as much as I cared about the Last of Us character in all of Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, no.
Resident Evil 4, I didn't really care. I ended up not caring. I think it's good how they handled it, because I ended up not caring about the president's daughter in Resident Evil 4, because she became so much of a hindrance.
Yeah.
In the first scene where you're like locked in the house in Resident Evil 4, spoiler for a very old game, but in the first scene, you're locked in the house, the zombies are coming at the house, or whoever, the parasite, the infected.
Whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah, they're coming at the house, and you're like barricading yourself in, and she's crying, and I was like, I felt invested in that character, and then as the game went on, I was like, you're really a burden.
You're slowing me down.
Yeah. I really wish I could just shoot you in the knee and carry you the rest of the way.
And leave you to die.
So the other thing I played was Ducktales Remastered.
Yeah, I bought that too.
I really liked. I'm a huge fan of Ducktales. We've talked before about like our favorite licensed games, our favorite Capcom games, our favorite Nintendo games. Ducktales has always come up on those lists. Ducktales is always a really big friend of mine. My big white whale. I don't call it a holy grail, but my big white whale in retro video game hunting has always been Ducktales too.
I saw Darkwing Duck when I was at Vintage Stock yesterday.
I have Darkwing Duck. It's really good. You should pick it up.
I was just like, I don't know if Andy's got this.
I do.
I saw Rescue Rangers too, and I was like,
I definitely have Rescue Rangers. So Ducktales Remastered, I felt they did a wonderful job of understanding what makes that game special and the gameplay and the characterization of it, and then expounding on that in a really wonderful way. I know people have been upset by all the narration interrupting the game. I liked it, and I liked it because it was the original cast. It made me feel like I was watching an episode of the show, and it grounded the narrative of the game in the universe of DuckTales.
Yeah, and like you said, I think that the narration is a little long. I think it is necessary in a modern game context that it needs to be, there needs to be something there more than press start, level select, go, like it was in the original game. Like they kind of have to set something up, especially since DuckTales really hasn't been on TV in at least the last 5 or 6 years, and probably longer than that.
Much longer than that. And it probably hasn't been on TV. Maybe Disney, maybe Toon Disney. It was probably on Toon Disney in the year 2000, but I would say that would be the latest. It's
so DuckTales hasn't been on the air for at least a decade. Yeah. So, I mean, they kind of have to set up some stuff. So right at the beginning, they set up the Beagle Boys, and they're like this big gang of dog criminal guys.
And then when they introduce Magica the Spell, they introduce her, and they're like, hey, they introduce her in such a way that you understand, even if you don't know who Magica the Spell is, or Flynn Hart Glumgold. They introduce both of those characters in such a way that they're like, oh, okay, I understand these characters are the nemesis. They have a history with Scrooge McDuck.
And there's a lot of cool stuff. And I do like the voice acting, don't get me wrong. Like, especially on Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Webby.
Webbigale. Wee Webbigale.
Yeah.
The fact that they included Webby in the game, I won over because she was always my favorite character in the show.
I vaguely remember a sprite of her being in the original game, but I don't remember her being like a big part of it.
She was the person in Transylvania that would tell you that Huey, Dewey, or Louie got kidnapped, I believe. I think that's the only time Webbigale popped up.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong.
But yeah, so...
I did play DuckTales on the NES before. It was funny. It took me so long to install. Okay, so it's the middle of the day on Tuesday. And I'm like, I've already pre-ordered the
update,
game.
so everybody else is downloading it too.
Well, but they're like waiting for the update. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, everyone's waiting on the update. I wonder if it's already on the store. Because that's happened to me before. Where
stuff's already there.
Stuff's already there. So I go on the store on the PC and just type in DuckTales. And it comes up, and I'm like, oh yeah, download to the PS3. And I'm like, I walk over, I turn my PS3, and it pops up, starts downloading. I'm like,
sweet.
So anyway.
And it took like an hour.
Well, I'm sitting there like, I have the theme up. I'm the desktop PS3 theme, and I'm sitting there humming the theme song, Say my airplanes, it's Anyway, so I'm like, I can't wait. I'm just gonna go upstairs and play the Nintendo game.
The original DuckTales.
So I played through Transylvania, Amazon Mine.
I can't remember the 5th level.
Himalayas.
Okay, yeah, duh.
So I didn't play through Himalayas, but I played through Moon, I played through Amazon Mine, and I played through Transylvania, and I played through Amazon.
Okay, so you played through most of the game.
A majority of the game. And just really reminded myself why I loved it. And then went downstairs and played the new version, which I think did a really good job of reminding me how to play that game, getting me back in that mode of this thing's just going to want to kick your ass.
Because it has that tutorial level at the beginning that wasn't initially in the original game. And it says, okay, you need to use A to jump or
this is how you
X
pogo.
to jump. And they simplified the pogo, at least on the PC version.
They simplified the pogo in DuckTales 2 on the NES, and then they used that pogo system.
Yeah, to where all you got to do is you jump and then you hold down whatever button and you'll just keep doing it.
Hold down and hit A.
Hold both buttons, right? Or
I think you only had to hit A once. But in the first game, what you have to do is considered hard pogo.
Yeah, and in the new version, it's called Hard Pogo.
Yeah, which I never liked, because after playing DuckTales 2, and I have DuckTales 2 on the Game Boy, you just never want to go back.
No, you never want to do that. And I was sitting there, when I was playing it, I was always holding down and whatever, and then I realized I didn't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to hold down.
Because that was screwing me up.
Yeah.
So they did make some changes to the game that were beneficial to the original game. They
expanded the levels. One point of contention outside the narration is how they expanded levels.
And some of the levels are pretty much spot on for most of the part.
How it goes through.
And specifically the Amazon is it has that little spot where you can go down early and then get all the stuff and then go back up and go back. But they did.
The weird thing about the Amazon is that part of the Amazon you climb up vines. Mm-hmm. And in the Nintendo version, you head to the left. But in the new remastered version, you have to collect those coins, head to the right, and it unlocks the rest of the level.
Yeah.
But it's the same sprite layout, only like a mirror image, if that makes sense.
The upper part is
instead of heading left, you're heading right.
Well, I'm sure there was a technical reason why they made you move left on the NES.
On the NES. So it's good, but it maintains that hardness.
It is super difficult. I played it for an hour and a half.
But man, when I beat it, and the last part, there's a part after the last boss that will leave a bad taste in your mouth, probably, unless you're an awesome DuckTales
Unless you're just awesome at platforming.
Yeah. But I don't let that dissuade you. Like, by the time the credits were rolling and they were singing the theme song, I was singing right with them, and I'm like doing my little dance.
Yeah.
It reminded me of being a little kid, and it took me back there in a great way. And I'm also excited for coming out soon, Castle of Illusion HD, which Castle of Illusion was also a big game in my development for the Sega Genesis.
I didn't see that one. I was looking for stuff yesterday when I was at Vintage Stock, and I saw like Magical Quest and something else.
Yeah,
but I didn't see Castle of
Illusion.
Illusion.
Castle of Illusion's hard to find just because it's a collector. People like it.
Yeah, people like to hold on
Same
to
with
it.
World of Illusion.
I
World
think
of
that was
Illusion,
there.
you'll probably see World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck more often than you will see Castle of Illusion.
Yeah.
In fact, I've seen the Master System version of Castle of Illusion a lot more than I've seen the Genesis version, which is crazy, because one of them had a much larger print run.
Yeah. Well.
By like magnitudes of 10.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, so Castle of Illusion HD is coming out, and I've been watching the documentary for that as they kind of build it, and they're kind of taking the idea of Castle of Illusion and making it a modern platformer, unlike what Ducktales Remastered did.
This was like a straight up remaster of the original game with some new stuff.
Yes.
But it's a lot of the original stuff.
Yes. They were like sprite for sprite as much as they could, and then they worked it, make it cool. Castle of Illusion, they're like, we're going to take the idea and we're going to remake it. So kind of like what I'd say is like the
reimagining of the game.
310 to Yuma. Like there's the original version and then the new version are different, but they're also the same.
The same story told in a different way, or
so that got me thinking. What remasters would you like to see?
Like a DuckTales type remaster?
Well, I was thinking, as I was playing DuckTales, I was thinking, man, if they made a Mega Man game like this, I would be on it like stink on a monkey.
The Mega Man, like make it look like the Mega Man cartoon show, kinda.
Or like 2D sprites.
Well, yeah,
like make it look new.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I would like to see a new 2D Castlevania, but they've done those for the most modern 2D Castlevania is one for
the 3DS.
Yeah, there's a 3DS, but it wasn't very good from what I understand.
Well,
but I mean like a full-on console version that's as long as Symphony of the Night type of deal.
Like redo this,
or they could straight up redo Symphony of the Night with a new castle,
like this, and like HD sprites and stuff, and make it look really good. I would be all over that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be.
I
would love
since DuckTales originally was made off the Mega Man 3 engine. Go back and remake Mega Man 3 like this, and I would buy it.
Oh yeah. I mean, totally. That would be an awesome remake.
When I finished the game, I sent out a tweet to WayForward
I saw
WayForward,
it.
which by the way, you should follow WayForward. They're a great company, really fun guys on Twitter. But I sent out a tweet and I was like, dudes, you did a great job, excellent. And then I was like, okay, so you're already working on hashtag Rescue Rangers Remastered, right? Because I want that.
Chippendale done that way.
Oh, it would be so great. Like that's the one thing. Like DuckTales made me think like you've gotten your first pony out the gate. You understand there's criticisms of like how hard it is, the collecting.
Well, but I mean it was supposed to be hard because that game was hard as nails.
Oh
when
yeah,
it came first. Like when you played it back in 1993.
That's why.
3?
Yeah, I read a design doc with an interview for Mega Man 1, and they were like, why did you do all this stuff with Mega Man 1? Why? And he goes, well, we did the level select because we realized that the levels were so hard that we wanted you to be able to see all of them.
Because you may not beat them all.
Yeah, and that's why we held Wily's Castle off. Because we wanted that to be like a reward.
For beating
But I remember as a kid, like I remember getting to a Robot Master in Mega Man game was a big feat for me as a kid.
Oh yeah. I mean, getting to the
and that's why
getting to the bosses in DuckTales, the new DuckTales, is a big deal for me because I'm just so terrible at a lot of the stuff.
You just lost all of that muscle memory.
Yeah, well, part of that and part of it, I was playing it off my laptop on my big TV, and it was displaying on both screens.
But, a delay.
But the TV had a delay of like a tenth of a second or something.
This is not a game you want to delay in.
No. So I figured, all right, well, now I'm just going to play it straight off my laptop screen. And if I have it on the big TV, that's just so my wife can tell me I suck at it. Because that was a lot of what it was. Is, man, you suck at this game. Stop playing it. Or play better.
Yeah. So I would like to see them go in and redo. They couldn't redo Mickey Mousecapade because Hudson Soft still owns the rights to that.
Yeah. But that would be an interesting remake.
Yeah. Because that's kind of all of the Capcom released Disney games, that's kind of the one that feels the least good. But it's also not made by them. So
I remember having that game for my NES, and I was just like...
I still have it.
It wasn't very good. It had like the really teeny tiny Mickey and Minnie sprites.
Mickey and Minnie sprites. So So, but yeah, Rescue Rangers Remastered. Then do Rescue Rangers, do DuckTales. Or you've done DuckTales, do Rescue Rangers.
Do other.
You can skip the Magic Kingdom was the game after Rescue Rangers, I believe. That one wasn't good. You don't have to remake that one. But then remake Darkwing Duck, remake
DuckTales 2.
DuckTales 2, Rescue Rangers 2, which is horribly hard to find. And then like remake Aladdin. Like I think a lot of
the SNES version or the Genesis version or
the SNES version.
Or do both.
Yeah, I think like now in hindsight we have the tools to like make the animation look as good as it did on the Genesis on the Super Nintendo version. Like I think we're in this really cool moment going back and like redoing these things. Like you could really go pretty damn far.
I mean, yeah, you could. And
like
don't just stop with Disney titles.
Yeah, I saw that they're remaking Soldiers of Fortune, which I loved on my Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Like I would like to see, because I know
they've already remade Bionic Commando.
Yeah, they've done Rearmed.
Remake the G.I. Joe game, the Atlantis Factor.
I thought you were talking about like the Mode 7 G.I. Joe game where it was like you're running and shooting.
Oh, the sprite scaler game? Yeah, I would like to have that on a home console. But no, I'm talking about the Atlantis Factor, which was the Capcom developed G.I. Joe game, which is very hard and kind of bad, but you can make it good again. And I think there's a nostalgic audience out there for G.I. Joe, especially since
all these G.I. Joe movies have started.
Well, and the other thing is here in Kansas City, we've had the National G.I. Joe convention come through, I think last year or the year before on the big anniversary. And I was like, there's a National G.I. Joe convention every year?
Sure, why not? People dress up as Cobra Commander.
Yeah, lots of Baronesses.
Yeah.
Lots of Baronesses. But yeah, so there's an audience out there, so redo that G.I. Joe
I mean,
Atlantis Factor. That'd be great.
Honestly, they could pry on any game like pre-1995 and they would have a huge reaction to it because you've got guys like us who grew up on those games, who want to play them in a more modern
Castle Illusion HD. I'm all for it. And when they said you pre-order it and you get the Genesis game for free, I was like, sold. Here's my money.
Take my money.
Shut up and take my money.
Take my money, JPEG.
But seriously, like, I just... Like, okay, so reach back in the annals of history. I would like them to do a new Final Fight.
A new Final Fight would be nice. Or Streets of Rage.
Oh, yeah, that music in Streets of Rage remastered. That was the one thing I really liked about Ducktales Remastered is I actually really loved the remastered music.
I mean,
the music... They took the nugget that was the Nintendo
Yeah, they took, like, the original score, and then they're like, all right, well, now we're going to make it sound less 8-bitty and
we're
more...
We're going to put some stank on it.
Yeah. One of the problems I did have with the music itself was whenever you got a power up, or whenever you, like, especially in Transylvania, whenever you took one of the teleporting mirrors, the music would restart, and it starts in such a way that it is just irritating to hear.
So I was talking to my wife about this. One of the things that I remember from my childhood is going to an uncle's house for the fall festival in Chicago, and it was like the pumpkin parade or something. I don't remember. Someone, if you know, mention it in the comments so I know. But we would go there, and his son, my cousin, had DuckTales on the NES, so I'd always play it.
Yeah.
Well, the Transylvania theme immediately transports me to that moment in time of fall colors, cold, having to wear a sweater, because you don't get this much here in the South, the middle Midwest and the Southern Midwest, but Chicago's actually kind of shitty at the end of October.
It can be here. I mean, hell, last week we were getting highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s.
Last night I was out on my patio in a hoodie, but
sitting there with your chimenea, just hanging out.
Yep. But it immediately transported me back to that moment, and it works so well because Transylvania, that level, you want to be in the Halloween mood, is what I'll call it.
Yeah, and that's part of it.
And that music does it.
Yeah, it does. It does do it. It's just it starts with that real loud noise.
And I don't remember it restarting every time on the PS3. That might be the PC version, or maybe
it might just be the PC version.
Or I just didn't notice.
Yeah, maybe you didn't notice.
There's a lot of bugs in the PC version.
I haven't seen a lot of.
Have you gone to the gallery yet? The art gallery?
No, because I haven't beat any of the levels, so I haven't really unlocked anything.
Oh, you haven't gotten. I think you have to beat the level to get the cash in the bank. So if you don't have any cash in the bank, you can't buy anything in the art gallery.
Yeah, the only cash I have is.
That's good for you because apparently going to the art gallery on the PC crashes it.
Well, when I closed it, it didn't actually close either. So my Raptor says I've been playing it for a day, and I only played it for like an hour and a half. So I'm in the top 4% of people on Raptor who have DuckTales Remastered on the PC. Because I've been playing it for a day and a half, and I still haven't beat it.
You do suck at that game.
I do suck at that game. I just sat there and just face rolled with my Xbox controller for a few hours.
So the other big story this week, as we're talking about remasters. Okay, so before we get off, like let's just say one game to remaster. I'll go first since I'm already thinking of it.
Okay.
One game, remaster it, HD with the 2D sprites or even 3D sprites, and everyone will buy it. Everyone will love it. I'll frickin' motorboat my PS3. Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
I still play that game on my SNES. I would love
I think I'm going to maintain that. I would love to see, and I know it's never going to happen, just like the Final Fantasy VII remaster is never going to happen. I still would like to see the Symphony of the Night redone. I would like to see them with the really nice
2D sprites.
2D hand-drawn sprites. I could go with
it might happen since Konami's kind of spinning their wheels with Lords of Shadow.
I don't want, though. The thing is, the one thing that kind of really screws me up with the new DuckTales is the backgrounds are also 3D, and you got this.
Well, the backgrounds are parallax scrolling. So
yeah,
that's actually 2D art moved in a 3D plane.
But I don't like it. I don't like having the background. I like having that solid color from the original game, and I wish.
Oh, I actually really like the backgrounds. They took the backgrounds. Apparently, they took the backgrounds from the original art from the TV show.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense, right? Like, but I just
if you watch the design docs, a lot of the design docs have to do with someone going. So we
had what did the TV show do?
They were like, so we had this really great idea, and then we took it to Disney, and Disney was like, oh, well, we have all that shit in the vault.
You want this?
Or like, oh, we have all the voice actors on speed dial. Do you want the voice actors?
Some of those voice actors are like 95 years old.
Oh, the Scrooge McDuck guy. I feel like this was
this will be his last thing.
He did it.
Yeah,
this might be his last thing.
That'll be the last thing
he ever does. Because it's so awesome.
I think like if they were going to do a Castlevania Symphony of the Night redo. I do not want them to put 3D backgrounds in. I want them to leave them as, and I don't want them to have 3D
Kinda
mixed
like
with 2D because that's really weird.
How they did the Blood Rain game.
Yeah, like where it's all 2D art all the way through.
Blood Rain Betrayal, which is actually also a way forward game.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. So they're really good at 2D, platformers.
Dude, they have that down. They have that shit down pat. They on it like stink on a monkey. So anyway, the other big thing this week that we want to talk about is. Xenoblade.
Yeah, GameStop selling used copies.
Not Xenogears, not Xenosaga, Xenoblade.
It's selling is it Xenoblade Chronicles?
Yes.
Okay, for the Wii for like $90.
Yes.
Used.
Yep. Well, not used.
Huh?
That's the big point of contention. It's not actually used. They literally just cut the seals off of them.
Yeah, well, they call that.
One dude's copy.
I think they call it junking it.
Yeah, one dude's copy literally had the plastic seal
cutting it.
Still on it.
Yeah. The manufacturer, so they just cut the plastic off the outside, the shrink wrap.
Yeah, they cut the plastic off, and then you know how there's that little bar at the top? They just sliced it and didn't even open the case.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean,
if you watch this show, you know we have I specifically, and Dave has some love. I have no love for GameStop.
I don't like a lot of their practices, but I will exploit their practices for my own gain. Because I didn't pay.
So will you exploit this practice?
I won't buy Xenogears because I don't have a Wii. Xenosaga or Xenoblade.
Nope.
I don't.
Xenoblade.
Xenoblade Chronicles. I will not buy that game because I don't have a Wii. I don't have a console to play it on, so there's no sense in buying it for $90.
I would not buy it in PE. I would not buy it for the C.
No, I would not buy it for my Wii. I would not buy it.
Anywho, so no, not Xenogears, not Xenosaga.
Xenoblade Chronicles. And
which I'm trying to get Xenosaga 3, which is also it's also Spoke Zarathustra in English, but I saw it at Vintage Stock for $30, and I was like, oh, I should have bought that when it was on sale.
Should have bought that on sale because you're never gonna find it again. I was looking for it when I was at Vintage Stock yesterday. I was looking for all kinds of crap at Vintage Stock yesterday because
you were just there.
We were there.
You got to keep your eyes out, man. I made a really good deal by keeping my eyes out, but we won't talk about that.
Not right now.
So Xenoblade products. So I don't agree with hardly any of the practices that
I think that they're gutting. They're gouging the shit out of people on this. Like I think
people want this game, and it used to be. Siliconara did a really good article that I read. Thank you to the guy that does the Cheap Ass Gamer podcast for linking it to me. From back in 2006, where people were shocked that games that had low print runs, Guitar Man, Rez, and other things were showing up in GameStops again, and they didn't understand why. And apparently there was this company in California that would front all of the money to reprint games. So basically buy them at $60 a pop, which is unheard of. And then resell them because they knew they were going for more than that on eBay and stuff. So and they would sell a large quantity of that stock to GameStop. So I was lucky I have an original printing of Rez, thankfully, but collectors were upset
Well, I mean, and that totally makes sense, right? Like, if you have a first printing of a game, just like if you have a first printing of a book or like a box of Magic cards or anything,
What we'll call an original run
of anything, it inherently has to collectors more value because it is what came out when it was first released, and it is the thing that you should have had. And if it was supposed to be a limited run, then they're kind of getting short sold in the long run because there's only 2,000 copies made then. But hey, now there's another 6,000 out in the world, so their stuff is automatically worth less than what it was.
And there's no way to tell the Xenosaga. Oh, now you got me doing it.
Xenoblade.
The Xenoblade reprint from the original run.
There's no way to tell the two?
No way to tell the two. That, and since GameStop is opening them all, having a sealed Xenoblade Chronicles is now worth a lot more money.
Yeah. Well,
because you can't just go out and buy one sealed.
No, probably not. Because I haven't had new runs of it in forever.
Yes. But the funny thing is, and the point of contention is, so you could have gotten those other Rez, Gitaru Man. I'm trying to think of other ones. There's a lot of them for the PS1. Anyway, you could have gotten those games through other markets besides GameStop. New.
But you can't get anything. You can't get any of these copies through anywhere but GameStop right now.
GameStop is the exclusive retailer for Xenoblade. So they have a monopoly on it. So they're totally gouging the consumer.
Oh yeah, they are. And
also the collector's market that has arisen around Xenoblade is not. I don't agree with. Yes, it was a low print run, so it's worth a little bit, but it's not that great of an RPG. So I really don't agree with it fetching more than $60 asking price.
To be fair, there are a lot of NES games that are not that great that are worth a lot just because they were low print runs.
Yeah, but let's
be
honest. Games like The Misadventures of Tronbon are worth a lot because they had a low print run, and they're actually good.
Yeah, there are a lot of games that are actually good, and they're worth more than, say, its shitty game counterpart.
Lunar is a game that is worth a lot of money.
But Lunar's also been redone like 5 times, so you can experience that game in a number of ways.
I'm just saying, like...
The original Sega CD version, if you could find one sealed in box, it's probably worth more than 10 times its weight in gold.
They're not that heavy.
No, they're not. They're really light. Even with the book, they're not that heavy.
But I don't really agree with the collector's era. A lot of the collector's arena that has arisen around Xenoblade is resellers and people that are Japanophiles that want it just because it wasn't going to be released here because Nintendo didn't want us to have it. And they're RPG nuts that, once again, Nintendo didn't want to have, so it was a part of that Project Rainfall. And a lot of the collectors are people that are Wii fanatics saying, oh, here's a Wii game that was really good, it wasn't on anything else. People really love it.
Well, and you know,
so those three factors plus resellers have made the price of this thing balloon. Kind of like Earthbound. I feel the same way about Earthbound. It's not really worth the money you pay for it. It's not that great of a game. It's a really good game. It's just not that great. I saw it at Vintage Stock. They had 3 copies when I bought something the other day, and he was like, hey, you want one of those 3 copies of Earthbound? I was like, you have 3 copies of Earthbound, and you will continue to have 3 copies of Earthbound when I leave here, because I don't want that game. And definitely not for $200.
Oh, really? Is that what they were marked at?
I've seen.
Well, now the price should drop since they released.
It's actually holding kind of steady, but
you would hope it would drop because now it's more readily available on the Wii U marketplace.
The other thing, those batteries are dying. So.
Oh yeah, but you can replace that, right?
I haven't yet. I haven't done a replipment battery yet.
On a Nintendo system.
On a Super. I've done it on a Genesis, but.
Well, you might need to replace the battery on my Mario RPG anyway. I don't care if I lose all my stuff. But.
Yeah, so GameStop comes in, as they always do. They see an opportunity to make a boatload of money.
An assload of money for no investment.
Exploit it horribly.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, so think about it.
It sucks because they have a monopoly on it.
Yeah. But think about it. Like, so what if Vintage Stock got the same deal? What if Vintage Stock got...
I would... I'm not that upset. But I would be even less upset if Vintage Stock
was selling it for $90 and they were the only retail that had it.
No. I would be
if they had the same deal that GameStop
I would be just as upset.
You would just be okay.
This is just I am X amount of upset and I am Y amount of normally upset at what GameStop does. This is just X plus Y.
Okay.
But if Monolith Soft, I had to think of the name of the publisher and developer.
Yeah.
And I would think Atlas was publishing it maybe.
I don't know.
Probably Exceed. Anyway, if the publisher and developer came out and said, okay, GameStop gets X amount of copies, Best Buy gets X amount of copies, Target gets X amount of copies, and Vintage Stock gets X amount of copies, it would be better.
Because they don't. At the moment, Yeah.
GameStop has that monopoly on it.
And that's why they're charging $90 for it. If everybody else had it, they would be selling it new for $60.
Yes, so GameStop is going to continue to gouge honest gamers. And if you're out there and you're like me and you're a gamer, you have a collection to game, you have a collection not to own stuff that's rare or stuff that's worth money.
Yeah.
You have a collection, you like it because you want to play it, take my recommendation and skip Xenoblade.
Don't buy that game. Oh.
Instead, buy Xenogears and Xenosaga, Daryl Zermach, Xenosaga,
Everything that has Xeno in it.
And booze, and Xenosaga, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. You could probably get all of those games plus
for $90.
Yeah, plus their strategy guides, plus whatever weird Cosmos bikini statue is out there. All of that for less than $90 that you would buy Xenoblade, and you would have a much better time.
Well, because that's, like 4 games, 5 games?
Yeah, everyone's also like, oh my god, Andy, what do you think about Project X, which is Monolith Soft's thing for the Wii U? And I was like, well, what I've seen of it, I'm not that interested in it. Because while I really liked what Monolith Soft did with Xenosaga, I didn't like what they did with Xenoblade, and they seem to be going in a direction
Xenoblade direction?
That's going to continue that. And so a lot like when people were like, back in the day, like, oh, Final Fantasy VIII's coming out. Like, well, I'll skip it.
Final Fantasy VIII. I mean, I still own a copy of Final Fantasy VIII, not because I want to, but because I would not get anything for it if I took it to GameStop or
a lot of the stuff like I get now, I just hold on to because I just wouldn't get my money out of it.
Well, unless you play
it's The Misadventures of Trombone.
Yeah, you pay $2 for that.
Oh my gosh, still can't get it. It was last night, and my hands are still shaking.
Anyway,
so don't forget to spay and neuter your Pokemon. We'll be back here next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but have a good week.
Gamescom is next week, so...
Oh, yeah!
So I guess we'll be talking about Gamescom next week,
Yeah, so we'll probably have a release date for the PlayStation 4. We'll probably have some more launch games. We'll probably have a Vita price cut.
That's a lot of what is expected
games
out of Sony, and Microsoft is probably going to follow suit. Or they might flip-flop again and say, hey, now you don't even have to buy an Xbox One to play these games. We'll just let you play them on the PS4.